neighbour Josephine has a "Thank you NHS" in her front window sticker. I see it every time I leave my house, and again every time I arrive home. A rainbow. The reflection, refraction and dispersion of light through water droplets. Or as I like to think of it, half rain and half sun. I think what a good choice it is. Strangely, I never know if I'm pleased to see it or not. Sometimes I look straight at it, as if it were trying to tell me something. A sign, a hidden message, a warning. Sometimes I avoid eye contact, which is completely ridiculous. Avoiding eye contact with a sticker, as if it were a spy, peering out at me, watching. No, judging my every move. It's 7:50 p.m. I've been sitting in my car in the car park of the emergency department, or ED as we call it, for 10 minutes. I take a deep breath, count to 3, 1, 2, 3, and push open the car door. I can't remember when it started, but I seem to have to do this every day now, sort of motivate myself or psych myself up. Is that normal? I should ask my colleagues. I make a mental note. You can always tell what sort of night it's going to be as soon as you walk into the department. There'll be someone sitting on the floor, clutching a sick bowl. A slightly drunk bloke on his phone, usually with his feet up, taking up a few seats as if he were on his sofa at home. A distressed elderly person who has no idea where they are and would be much better with a home visit from their GP. I could go on. First port of call, handover. Dr. Reed brings me up to speed with all of the patients he's been treating and...
By the way,
he says,
the locum register is coded 6, so you're short-staffed tonight.
I think back to that split second before I counted to 3 in the car.
I'm sure you'll manage, though.
I make a mental note of all of the test results, checkbacks, etc. I need to do for Dr. Reed's patients, and head over to the patients waiting to be seen box. My first patient of the night, female, age 32, name Madeline Wilson. She doesn't look good. In fact, she looks pretty terrible. Hello, I'm Natalie, one of the doctors. What brings you to A&E this evening?
I've had diarrhea and sickness the past few days. My stomach's killing me, and every time I drink anything, even water, it comes straight back up.
And when was the last time you passed urine? I asked her.
I think, I definitely happened today. Yesterday morning?
Right. I'm going to give you some painkillers and some anti-sickness medication now. We'll get some fluids in you to replace what you've lost, and then we'll see how things are. We'll also do a venous gas and take some bloods.
Thanks, doctor.
I temporarily forget the anguish of staffing issues and feel grateful to be helping someone. Like the colours of the rainbow, most things in medicine exist on a spectrum. Take dehydration, for example. It can be slight or fatal, and everything in between. In Madeline's case, I suspect renal failure, caused by dehydration, caused by the gastroenteritis. So I asked the nurse to take some bloods to do a venous gas, which I should probably tell you, tests the pH of the blood, along with the potassium, sodium, glucose and bicarbonate levels, amongst other things. I also asked her to send some routine bloods to the lab for more in-depth testing. I make a mental note to check back on the venous gas in 15 minutes and the bloods in an hour. My next patient. I walk into the waiting room and call Mr. David Burns. I wait, looking around for someone to respond. David Burns! I sort of squawk this time in a possibly embarrassing attempt to be heard over the noise of chatter, medical equipment, and the dick in the corner shouting,
"If they don't see me soon, I'm coming home!"
down his phone. I mean, if he can go home because he's not fond of waiting, I'm going to hazard a guess that what he's here for is not an emergency. Perhaps the elusive David Burns has had the same thought. But, just in case he's gone outside for some air, I pop outside and say his name into the frosty night, to be gawped at by shivering smokers, none of whom claim the identity. I make a mental note to check back again after my next patient. Patient 3, female, 37, has a headache and feels slightly nauseous. Has probably Googled it and now thinks she has a brain tumour. How long have you had the headache, I ask?
Since this morning.
I examine the patient and find nothing. And have you taken anything?
Like what?
She asks, as if I'm accusing her of murder. Paracetamol, ibuprofen.
Oh, no, I didn't want to mask the symptoms.
I mask my despair with a prescription of 1 gram of paracetamol and 400 milligrams of ibuprofen, and make a mental note to check back in again in half an hour. Almost time to check the venous gas, I remind myself. David Burns! I call out again. Nothing. I'll check back after my next patient, I think to myself, just in case. My experience tells me that, like Dick on the phone, David Burns has probably got sick of waiting for his non-emergency ailment to be seen, and is probably now at home watching naked attractions and complaining about the state of the NHS. With a rainbow sticker in his window, of course. I checked the venous gas. Damn. Error message. No reactant. The machine is not testing potassium levels today. More common than you'd think, and highly inconvenient. Renal failure can make your potassium levels soar, and high potassium can be a killer. Low potassium can be, well, not great either. Running through my mental notes, I head over to the phone. With a bit of luck, the lab have already analysed the blood that we sent earlier. The phone rings. And rings. And rings. No answer. I need to move on. Patients are waiting. So I asked the nurse to chase up the renal function, especially the potassium levels, and to let me know the results. I also make a mental note to call again after my next patient. As I cross the waiting room, Dick with the phone launches himself into my path.
How much longer? This is insane. I've been waiting here 3.5 hours now.
He spouts at me, as if I, personally, have decided on the order in which patients are to be seen and am deliberately making him wait. Or perhaps he thinks I only see patients when I'm not drinking coffee and reading Vogue. I'm sorry, I don't know. Patients are seen in order of severity.
Well, I'm going to leave if I'm not seen soon. I'm not sitting here all night.
Okay, I respond.
What do you mean, okay?
And I feel his anger shooting towards me when...
You can't just say okay. What a shit doctor. You don't even care.
And I'm thinking I have two choices. Let my eyes betray how broken this recurring event makes me feel. Or put up my guard and live up to his accusations. I'm just saying, no one is forcing you to stay. If you'd like to be seen by a doctor, you are more than welcome. If you'd rather not wait, that's also fine.
I'll wait.
My next patient is a female, 22, has a contact lens stuck in her eye. Now, I'd like to tell you that never in my medical training have I covered how to remove a contact lens. I'll admit I've had a bit of practice when my mother-in-law has a few wines and has lost her contact lenses, but that's really just because us emergency doctors are not too fussy where we stick our fingers. In a strictly professional sense, obviously. I examine the patient. Well, I look in her eye. Have you put another contact lens in? I ask.
No.
No. Well, the lens seems to be in the right place.
Oh, it is. It's just about my nails done and they're too long to get my lenses out.
My heart is screaming. Every fibre of my being wants to tell her to fuck off, but I swallow my urge, put on my latex gloves and remove her contact lens. As I'm doing that, I run through my mental list and remind myself to check the blood results for the teenage boy in cubicle 7 that Dr. Reed referred to me.
Sorry, doctor, the systems are down. You'll have to ring for the blood results yourself.
Says the nurse in charge. Salt in the wound. Short-staffed, no potassium reactant, shouted at by Dick with phone, no computer system. I check his ECG, all clear. The patient is about to breach the 4-hour wait limit, so I ask the same nurse to kindly check the blood results and send the patient home if everything is within limits. Madeline, my first patient of the night. I peek into her cubicle to see how she's doing.
Feeling a bit better, I think.
In a smile. I check back on headache girl. And as I slide through the curtain of the cubicle, I am shocked to get a glimpse at her boyfriend's bare spotty bum. Him with his trousers around his ankles and her, well, I'm sure you can guess. If only I'd have known earlier that he had the cure for her headache all along. I whip the curtain closed, and as I'm scampering away, mortified, to call the lab, the phone rings. Now, I'd just like to point out that, as doctors, doctors don't usually answer the phone in the department, mainly because we have too much to do. And I don't know if it's the shock of what I've just seen or the need to feel like I'm a good person today, but I pick up, seeing Spotty Bum and Headache Girl heading towards the exit in my peripheral vision. Hello, emergency department.
Hi, I'm calling about my husband. He was admitted earlier today and I haven't heard anything since.
Worry in her voice. Okay, well if you let me know his name, I'll see what I can find out for you.
Henrik Gupta.
Okay. Oh, here we are, I say, happy that I'll be able to offer her a tiny snippet of information at least. He's awaiting assessment by the internal medicine team.
You're joking.
She snipes. No, that's what it says.
He's been there all this time and you still haven't assessed him. Why?
I feel her fury darting towards me through the phone. I don't have any more info, I'm afraid. He's not my patient.
What do you mean he's not your patient? Aren't you a doctor?
Well, yeah.
Well, why don't you assess him then? What's your name? I'm going to make a complaint.
In my brain, I rewind to the moment before I pick up the phone and curse myself for being naive enough and trying to help. I understand that you're upset and worried about your...
No, you don't. You don't care. You're all the same. Not interested. I want your name.
Those words permeate my skin and squeeze my solar plexus until I feel slightly queasy. I explain that I will not give her my name because the patient has nothing to do with me. He's not even under the care of A&E. It would be like being asked for my name because the vending machine isn't working. I was just trying to help, to put at ease a worried mind. And now I have learned. Just as she was promising
Heads are gonna roll.
I hang up the phone. I will never answer that phone again. I go back to my mental notes, and I think, seeing as though I'm near the phone, I could call the lab for my first patient's blood results when...
Dr. Jansen, could you come quick to the patient in cubicle 5? He's choking.
He asks me, caring enough for the both of us. I am refracted to a different task, distracted from my mental notes. But he's my favourite ED nurse. His golden hair, tied back in a tiny bun, and his gentle demeanour are the perfect combination. As we run to the cubicle, I let myself bask in a daydream where we go for picnics and feed each other cheese and onion pasties. I open the curtain to cubicle 5, and I see Dr. Reed's patient with the painful hip. Unable to cough, trying to speak but unable to. Clear sign of total airway obstruction. Hello, I'm Dr. Johnson, I say, and I get behind the poor elderly gentleman and perform the Heimlich manoeuvre, rescuing him from imminent death. Dark side defeated. Whew. After an examination, some water, and some TLC, the patient is settled.
I don't know why he called you, really. I'm right as rain, doctor.
I don't doubt it. How's that hip feeling now? I say a little louder than is customary when I notice his hearing aid.
Well, it's not too bad. It seems to have eased a tad now. It must be your presence, doctor.
A charmer, I think. I check his notes, and I see that we are still awaiting his hip x-ray. So I add a chest x-ray, just in case he's aspirated, breathed in any part of his killer NHS sandwich. I head over the phone to call the lab. The nurses have been running around like headless chickens, and Madeline's nurse has not had time to make the call. I curse the IT systems for failing us. The phone's engaged. I guess I'm not the only doctor phoning for results. After 7 attempts, I give up. I'll check back in 5. Now then.
Can you sign the CCG, doctor?
Yes. Now then. David Burns. It's the 3rd time I call his name. It's protocol to call someone 3 times if you don't find them the first time you call them. David Burns! I call out way too loud, letting the frustration of the night colour his name. The emergency alarm sounds before I get the chance to look around again.
It's cubicle 2.
I hear the nurse in charge shout. A feeling of dread grips my stomach, and we instinctively run like the Justice League to fight death, or at least serious illness and save a life. It's Madeline's cubicle, but she was improving, my puzzled mind tells me. The nurse flings open the curtained cubicle, and my heart skips a beat as I realise that hers is not beating. You take the airway, I shout to the nurse, as I Assign a junior doctor to start compressions. Staying alive, staying alive. It seems inappropriate, I know, but the rhythm is perfect and everyone's mind can hear it. I run through all of the reversible causes, the 4 H's and the 4 T's, the most likely cause being potassium, too high, under the H, hyperkalemia. We've done another set of venous gases, but still no potassium as no reactant, and now I can't spare someone to phone the bloody lab. I decide to treat anyway. That's 2 minutes, pulse check. Charging, all clear. Shocking at 200. Swab, resume CPR. And as we try again and again to revive her, the song becomes haunting, frantic, distorted. But we carry on, desperate to win this battle. Swab, 20 minutes. 40 minutes. 1 hour. By this time, there is irreversible brain damage. We all know that we should stop, but being the one to call it never gets easier. Time of death, 22:49. The chaos turns into a heavy silence, pushing down on my shoulders, and I think through everything that's happened. Her bloods. I didn't check her bloods. Well, I did, but then that lady phoned, and then the lab didn't answer, and then that man choked, and I feel my neighbour's sticker creeping into my mind. Thank you, NHS. I see the rainbow hanging over me, taunting me. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Richard of York gave battle in vain. Madeline gave battle in vain. My mental to-do list bounces into my head. I don't have time to stop or let myself wallow, so I creep over to the phone and hi, it's Dr. Jansen. I'm calling for the blood results. At that very moment, I see it. A piece of scrap paper by the phone with the words, Madeline Wilson and potassium 8.3 millimoles per litre. Dangerously high. My stomach drops into my crocs. The lab had phoned, as they do with any abnormally dangerous results. Someone had taken the message and had failed to act on it. I see the holes in the slices of Swiss cheese aligning themselves, the arrow of error passing through, unobstructed. If the potassium reactant had been working tonight, if the locum doctor contracted to work the night had have turned up, if the computer system hadn't gone down, if that lady hadn't phoned when I was trying to ring for her blood results, if the lab hadn't answered, if that man hadn't choked, if David Burns had been there the first bloody time I called, if whoever took the message had acted on it. I work the remaining 10 hours of my shift and then feel relieved to be back in the safety of my car, knowing I have a full 12 hours before I have to count to 3 again. I have lost a life tonight, and surrounded by silence, tears start to pour from my eyes. I feel a lump in my throat, and I let myself collapse forward on the steering wheel. The horn beeps and scares the shit out of me, and I hit the steering wheel over and over and over as if it was its fault. That morning, as I walk past my neighbours, I ignore her sticker and its taunting as I drag myself, exhausted, to my bed. Two weeks pass and
the family have made a complaint. The trust is opening an internal investigation, and the GMC is likely to restrict your practice until this is over.
Did you know that a rainbow can be a full circle, but the observer only sees an arc formulated by drops of water above the ground?
My daughter died because of her.
I understand, I really do. Her family have lost a gem. Young, unexpected.
You're unreliable.
Of course, it must be because I'm a bad doctor. I reflect on the events of that night, and I let myself wonder, am I a bad doctor? Or am I a good doctor in a bad system? A droplet of water above the ground.
How do you sleep at
My
night?
daughter died because of her.
You're so
Don't let her
unreliable.
practice.
Everything in
Neglect.
medicine exists on a
Who do you think you
spectrum.
are? How do you
My
sleep
daughter
at
died
night?
because of her.
An innocent
Don't let
life.
her
Who do you think
practice.
you are? How do you
Neglected by the
sleep
NHS.
at night? You're so
My daughter
unreliable.
died
What a shit
because of her.
doctor.
Don't
You
let
don't
her
even care.
practice.
You're so
Neglected
unreliable.
by
Who
the
do you think you are?
NHS.
How do you sleep at night?
Dr. Natalie Jansen is taken off the medical register.
Dr. Jansen, accused of manslaughter.
Who do you think you are?
My daughter died.
You are so
Don't let her practice.
unreliable.
Neglected by the NHS.
What shit doctor?
My daughter died.
You don't
because
even
of her.
care.
Don't
How do you
let her
sleep at
practice. Neglected by the
You are. You're
NHS.
so
My daughter died
unreliable.
because
What a
of her.
shit doctor. Who do
Don't
you
let her
think you are?
practice. Neglected by the
Unreliable. Who do you
NHS.
think
My
you are?
daughter
How do you
died
sleep
because
at
of her.
night? What
Don't
shit
let her
doctor?
practice.
You don't even
Neglected by
care.
the NHS.
What shit
My daughter
doctor?
died because
You don't
of
even
her.
care. Dr. Natalie Jansen found dead in her home.
Her suicide note said only,
I'm sorry.